Hello, welcome to my video on THORChain, the first decentralized exchange that can swap Bitcoin. This video is for anyone new to THORChain, people looking to learn more. My goal is to take you from 0 to 100. So I'll go into more detail what THORChain is, how it works, the problem it solves, the upside potential, the risks, everything in between. And just a bit about me. My name is Kenton Ralph Toes. I'm the founder of Youxia Crypto, an asset management company specializing in crypto, and I have a fund that invests in THORChain and RUNE. And to get going here, kick us off, let's hear from Eric Voorhees.
Your major passion, or at least it would seem right now, is THORChain. Can we talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So in my entire 10 years in crypto, obviously the project that excited me most was Bitcoin when I first learned about it. And I just had this feeling of like, this is something so special and profound. And I never had that with Ethereum, not because Ethereum's not special and profound. It absolutely is. But I was not smart enough to understand Ethereum when it first came out, right? Like, I understand generally how it works now and why it's so powerful, but certainly when it was being proposed, I did not. THORChain I understood when I started looking into it, and THORChain is, without exaggeration, the project that has excited me most ever since the first learning of Bitcoin, right? So I don't want to, that's a powerful statement.
It's a powerful statement from a powerful guy. If you're not familiar with Eric, he's a crypto OG. He's been in this space publicly for over 10 years. He's a billionaire. And so what is it that gets him going about THORChain? And I think it's good to review and refresh ourselves on Bitcoin. What's so great about Bitcoin and profound about it? And let's go here. We can compare what makes Bitcoin great to THORChain. So this sentence is actually the first sentence in the Bitcoin white paper. And I'm going to jump to it here for us. Right here, Bitcoin, peer-to-peer electronic cash system by Satoshi Nakamoto. All right, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. And let's just reword that in terms of THORChain. A purely peer-to-pool version of an exchange would allow online swaps to be done directly from one party to a market maker without going through a financial institution. And got another one here. If you go to the bitcoin.org website, and you'll scroll down, and right here, this paragraph right here. Bitcoin uses peer-to-peer technology to operate with no central authority or banks. Managing transactions and the issuing of Bitcoins is carried out collectively by the network. Bitcoin is open source, its design is public, nobody owns or controls Bitcoin, and everyone can take part. Through many of its unique properties, Bitcoin allows exciting uses that could not be covered by any previous payment system. And let's reword that in terms of THORChain. THORChain uses peer-to-pool technology to operate with no central authority or banks. Managing liquidity pools and the approval of swaps is carried out collectively by the network. THORChain is open source, its design is public, nobody owns or controls THORChain, and everyone can take part. Through many of its unique properties, THORChain allows exciting uses that cannot be covered by any previous exchange. And I've got I could do this all day long with you, actually. I've got a couple more quotes from Satoshi about Bitcoin and relating it to THORChain. I'm not going to bother reading it. You can pause the video and read it. I've got another one for you here, too. But basically, just trying to highlight the similarities between THORChain and Bitcoin. And THORChain is not the next Bitcoin. THORChain complements Bitcoin. But THORChain pulls a lot of its features and design and elements from Bitcoin, right? It's modeled after Bitcoin because Bitcoin's the king. And So just to make it clear, Bitcoin's revolutionary because you can send Bitcoin with no central authority or bank involved. THORChain is revolutionary because you can swap Bitcoin with no central authority or bank involved. So the whole point of Bitcoin is decentralization, is to avoid those central authorities and banks, and that's achieved through decentralization. And this is the whole point of real crypto in general, is to cut out these middlemen, cut out these central authorities, cut out these financial institutions. And ever since Litecoin and all the other cryptocurrencies were invented, the only way for people to trade between them all was to go through a centralized authority, through a financial institution, which kind of defeats the whole purpose, the whole point of Bitcoin, the whole point of crypto. So this has been a problem for a long time, for over 10 years, is how do we trade, how do we swap different cryptocurrencies with each other without going through a central authority? And now we have a solution. It exists. It's called THORChain. Just to highlight here too, that the word swap, I kind of used it interchangeably with trade. When you trade, if you trade a stock, for example, you got stock ABC, you want to sell it to buy stock XYZ. You would sell ABC into fiat, into dollars, and then use that cash to go buy stock XYZ. That's trading. What if you just swapped stock ABC for XYZ without going in and out of dollars, right? What if you just swapped the two? You can't in the traditional system, but in crypto you can, right? When you exchange Bitcoin for Ethereum, you're just swapping it. You're not selling it into fiat. Otherwise, that would be a trade. So I'm going to try and stick to the word swap here. Anything you read about decentralized exchanges and crypto, they always refer to swapping, and that's why. It's technically a bit different than trading. And so let's go into the biggest problem in crypto. So to appreciate THORChain and the problem it's solving is to understand the problem, right? How big a problem is this that THORChain is trying to solve? And it turns out it's a pretty big one. And it's a problem that everybody knows about, right? Anything negative you've heard about crypto, that anybody's heard about it, all the money that's been stolen and lost and what have you, it's all from platforms centered around trading crypto, trading Bitcoin for Ethereum for whatever coin. And just go over a few examples. Mt. Gox, in 2014, it was the largest crypto exchange in the world. 70% of all the Bitcoin trading went through Mt. Gox, but it got hacked. 650,000 Bitcoin were stolen. That was 5% of the total Bitcoin supply. It's pretty crazy. And but the market, it recovered, got past it. In 2018, Quadriga CEX, that was the largest crypto exchange in Canada, it blew up, and their customers lost $190 million. And it was really strange, too, because the CEO mysteriously died. And I say mysteriously because there's a theory that going around that maybe he faked his death to steal that money. But when investigators looked into the exchange, they realized it's just a basic Ponzi. They weren't even buying the crypto. They were just taking the money that people put on it. Celsius in 2022, it blew up. 1.7 million people lost $4.7 billion. FTX last fall, Sam Bankman-Fried. There's a million Americans, 5 million people worldwide, lost $8 billion. And these are just some examples. There's numerous other exchanges that have had issues like this. 6 of the top 10 hacks of all time have all occurred on centralized exchanges. They're a real problem. And it's what leads Vitalik Buterin, the Ethereum co-founder, to say this.
Do you think there's a chance that, down the road, decentralized exchanges will be where the majority of the action is, and centralized exchanges were like an ephemeral blip? Or do you think there'll be a bizarre occasional use case?
And I definitely personally hope centralized exchanges burn in hell as much as possible. But
Right, so nobody in the sector likes the centralized exchanges. They're kind of a necessary evil. Everybody wants a decentralized exchange. Like, that's the solution. That's the future. And
Do you think there's a chance?
it's what prompted Vitalik to tweet this in 2020. We should put resources toward a proper, trustless, serverless, maximally Uniswap-like user experience. Ethereum to Bitcoin decentralized exchange. It's embarrassing that we still can't easily move between the two largest crypto ecosystems trustlessly. And Uniswap, that is a decentralized exchange. That's a DEX. But it can't do Bitcoin. It can only handle Ethereum-based tokens, ERC20s. And there's other decentralized exchanges on other protocols, but it can only handle that protocol's tokens. There's no DEX, there's no decentralized exchange to go from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Binance Coin to whatever coin, right? It didn't exist back then. And one of the solutions or ideas people have worked on were atomic swaps. Those do work. You can swap two different L1 tokens, Bitcoin for Ethereum, but they don't scale. And here's why, is because you have to, it's like trying to buy or sell something on Craigslist in a way. Like you have to find somebody who's ready to sell the exact same amount of crypto at the exact same price at the exact same time that you are. And, it's kind of like a dating app where you have to swipe right on a person at the exact same time that they swipe right on you. Technically that would work, but it won't scale, right? It doesn't scale. And that's what time has proven with atomic swaps. They've been around now for several years, but they just don't scale. So that's not the solution. Another way people have been trying to do this is with bridges and wrapping tokens. And the simplest, and a wrap token is just an IOU. The simplest way to think about this is look back in history, gold vaults. People would put gold and they go to the jeweler, put gold in their vault and get a receipt. And instead of exchanging a receipt for gold, people just trade those receipts for the value of the gold backing it. And that works until it doesn't, right? The history is riddled with problems with that, right? The jeweler, the people running the gold vault, they print up more receipts than there is gold, or they just steal the gold altogether, and people are left with these IOUs, right? These receipts. So they don't work. That doesn't work. Bridges have also been, the other 4 of the top 10 hacks of all time have occurred on bridges, and the 2 largest hacks of all time are on bridges. And to help drive home the point here with wrapping tokens and IOUs, let's watch this.
Listen, Mr. Samsonite, about the briefcase, my friend Harry and I have every intention of fully reimbursing you. Open it up. Open it up! Go ahead. Open it up. Do what he says. Harry.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs. Go ahead and add it up. Every cent's accounted for. Look. See this? That's a car. 275,000. Might want to hang on to that one.
I love that movie. But right, you get it, right? An IOU, right, that is not the same thing. Wrapped Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. IOU Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. But people still do it. There's wrapped Bitcoin here, WBTC. It's managed by Bitco. You give them one real Bitcoin, they'll give you a WBTC, a wrapped Bitcoin. And this is a token that exists on Ethereum. And people do it because they want to get Bitcoin onto Ethereum so they can swap it on Uniswap. They can go play with it in DeFi, lend against it, borrow it out, what have you. There's a huge demand to get Bitcoin into DeFi. And so even though everybody knows it's an IOU, they still want to do it. And then they still trust BitGo to honor it. So I have the price chart here of WBTC. Notice it's priced in Bitcoin. So in theory, it should trade at par, right? At 1. It should be a flat line at 1. But it doesn't because there's fees to get in and out. So, people just want to buy it or sell it. They'll take a little bit small loss either way, right? And so that makes sense to have some volatility there. But notice this big dip here in November 22. This is when FTX is blowing up. And the whole market is freaking out about counterparty risk. And so rather than people take their WBTC, their IOU, give it back to BitGo to exchange for one real Bitcoin, they were just selling it on the open market. And they drove the price down to 99 cents on the dollar. And so it's only 1% off, not a big deal. But still, it just highlights how a wrapped token is an IOU. It's not the same as the real thing. And what's interesting to note is you can't see it on this chart, but before the collapse, there's about 247,000 Bitcoin around this period in WBTC. Now, after this collapse, there's about 150,000 Bitcoin. So the amount of Bitcoin that's held in this contract went down 40% because people don't want those IOUs. They want the real thing. Wrapped Bitcoin on Solana, SOBTC. This is even a more extreme example. Again, people wanted Bitcoin. They want to play with Bitcoin on the Solana network. And so they're wrapping it into this IOU, this wrapped token. And again, see the y-axis, I have it priced in terms of Bitcoin. In theory, it should trade at 1, and trades above and below because there's fees getting in and out. But then in November, it just collapses. And that's because when FTX was blowing up, they stopped the ability to go in and out of the wrapped Bitcoin token. So if you had your receipt, your IOU, your SOBTC, and you couldn't go back to FTX to get one real Bitcoin, they closed the window, they closed the door. And so everyone freaked out. It's like, oh, well, it's gone. The Bitcoin's stolen, it's not there, it's not backing it. So what they did is they just started dumping the token on the secondary market, and they crashed the price to the point where it was trading at 3 cents on the dollar. So people would rather get 3 cents, like 0.03 Bitcoin basically, than 0 Bitcoin. And so I hope this drives home the point of, wrapped tokens or IOUs. They're not the same thing as the real thing. And so it's not a solution. It never has been, it never will be. And so all the frauds, thefts, hacks, everything negative you heard about crypto have all occurred on centralized exchanges and bridges. It's a problem that's cost the industry tens of billions of dollars. It needs to be fixed, especially for mass adoption, to build rapport with the public, right? And whoever solves this problem stands to benefit tens of billions of dollars. And it just so happens as THORChain. THORChain has solved this problem. They figured it out. All of these issues here could have been avoided if people were using THORChain. And to help summarize and drive this point home, let's hear back from Eric Voorhees.
I don't think this is an exaggeration to say that when I discovered THORChain and learned about it, it was the most exciting feeling I had gotten since learning about Bitcoin back in 2011. I didn't quite understand Ethereum when it came out, so I didn't get that early enough. But THORChain I understood because of my experience with Shapeshift. right? Because we built this mechanism to allow people to trade coins without custody, so that we didn't have custody of users' coins. But the way that we had to do that was centralized. Someone sends in their Bitcoin, our server sees it, and then our server sends ETH back to that person. So there's a brief moment of custody, but the risk is, nearly zero to the user. But we still have to do that as a centralized company. And because we were a centralized company and an intermediary, that meant we had to comply with all these horrible regulations, which remove privacy and much of the consumer protection that we were trying to build. So when I saw THORChain and I realized, like, wow, they've built a protocol that does this at the protocol level without any intermediary period, and it uses these base layer 1 assets like normal Bitcoin that's not wrapped and normal Ether that's not wrapped. To me, that was just like this profound advancement in the state of the art of technology for this community. Today, THORChain is the only way at scale to trade these assets without an intermediary, which is kind of shocking, right? Like if you have some Ether and you want to buy Bitcoin with it, you're either going through a centralized exchange or you're going through THORChain.
It's pretty cool. So this is all what makes THORChain better than CEXs. So all those problems with decentralized exchanges that I went over before, that all could have been avoided if people had taken custody of their crypto. And what that means is transferring it to a cold storage wallet like Ledger or Trezor, or a hot wallet on their phone. Had they done that, and the people who did do that were totally fine, no issues. And why people leave their crypto on the exchange, especially after all the problems in the past, I don't have a good answer for you. Half of it is probably just ignorance; they didn't know any better, and the other half is that people are trading. And it's just a real pain to have, you have Bitcoin in your wallet, you move it to the exchange, you do a trade, so you buy some Ethereum, you move it back to your wallet, and you're ready to, trade that again. So you move the Ethereum back to the exchange. Now you trade that for Bitcoin, move the Bitcoin back to your wallet, and it's just, if you're going back and forth all the time, it's just a real headache. It's a lot of work, and you also do open yourself up to making a mistake, sending your crypto to the wrong address. And losing it. So people just leave their crypto on the exchange just because it's easier. With THORChain, whether you're an active trader or trade once a year, it doesn't matter. You maintain you maintain custody of your crypto all the time. It's in your wallet. So if you have Bitcoin in your cold storage wallet, you can send that to THORChain, and THORChain will send you back an equal dollar amount of Ethereum. It is that simple. And what's cool is, THORChain's open source. Anybody can look at it. Anybody can audit the code. Anyone can interact with it. There's no one to stop you. Whereas, like, say, a centralized exchange, you can't. It's closed source, right? You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Especially if there's any crypto to back anything there. You can't audit it or anything like that. THORChain, everything is it's like the Bitcoin blockchain. Everything's public. You can view everything. It's impossible to have any fractional reserve banking on THORChain. The code wouldn't work, right? All the numbers have to add up, right? Everything has to be accounted for to the nearest, or to the every cent. And what else is cool is anyone in the world can interact with THORChain. Right? You don't have to open an account. It doesn't matter what your last name is, where you live, if you're rich or poor, if you're in debt, whatever. All you need is a crypto wallet. And this is important because the centralized exchanges like Binance and Coinbase and whatnot, they can only handle maybe 2 billion people in the world. They can't take on the 6 billion unbanked and underbanked people. THORChain can. And let's say you can open an account with Coinbase or Binance, they could always close it on you. They could always freeze your assets. THORChain can't do that, right? Because if you have self-custody, if you have the crypto in your wallet, you have custody of it. THORChain can't can't freeze it, can't turn it off, or can't steal it, or anything like that. So THORChain is huge leaps and bounds ahead of using a centralized exchange. THORChain is also it's decentralized, right? The whole point of crypto is decentralization, and that's measured by the Nakamoto coefficient. It's not a perfect measure, but it's something. And so let's take a look at it here. Go to the website, a measure of decentralization, and if we just read it here, the Nakamoto coefficient is a measure of the smallest number of independent entities that can act collectively to shut down a blockchain. And so the higher that number, the better, right? The more entities it takes, the more nodes it takes to turn off a blockchain, the harder it is for anybody to do that. So, THORChain here is at 28. If we look at the whole list, which, don't ask me, I don't know why it's not in order, but THORChain's near the top of the list at 28. You'll notice Ethereum is at 2. I don't really want to get into it. The reason that is because there's a lot of Ethereum is being staked between 2 different entities. So the argument is those 2 entities could be hijacked, which could in turn hijack the Ethereum network. I don't want to get into whether that's the true or not, or the nuts and bolts and how that works. Definitely people argue against that this isn't correct. And maybe people argue against this Nakamoto coefficient isn't correct. It's not perfect, but it's a guide, it's a gauge. And I'm bringing it up just as a relative measure of THORChain versus the other cryptocurrencies. It is one of the more decentralized cryptocurrencies out there, which means it should be one of the safer ones. The harder to be attacked, if you will. Let's go back here to the show. Okay, so THORChain is also economically secure. Up until this point, I just kept talking about THORChain, the exchange, but it's also a market maker, and it has 2 functions in one. I'll go further into the market making function of it, further on in the video. But for now, that's how if somebody has Bitcoin in their cold storage wallet and they send it to THORChain to do a trade, where does the Ethereum come from? It comes from a liquidity pool. It comes from the market maker side of THORChain, and that's what gets sent back to your cold storage wallet. So that market maker side, that is where people are depositing crypto onto THORChain to participate in the market making. And that side of THORChain is preserved and protected by the nodes. And the nodes are what secure that crypto, protect it. And to become a node on THORChain, you have to post a bond to enter the network. And that bond has to be worth more than the crypto in the pools, the crypto that you're protecting. And this is what makes THORChain economically secure. So if you can imagine Sam Bankman-Fried, if he had to post a bond of $16 billion to oversee the $8 billion of client assets, he never would have stole it, right? He would have done everything in his power to protect it. And same with every other, the bridges, all these other exchanges. A lot of people running those things and managing them, they didn't have any real money to lose should all the users lose. THORChain is completely different. The nodes, the people, the entities that are being entrusted to oversee and protect and safeguard the network always have more money to lose than what could possibly be stolen by them or by an outside party. So this makes THORChain economically secure. There's no other exchange or out there that has this kind of feature. And here's where it gets cool. If you want to compare THORChain to something in real world, everyone with Bitcoin, everybody thinks it's replacing central banks. It's to become the new world reserve currency. I certainly think that's going to happen. I think it's real. I think it's plausible, or at least plausible. So if Bitcoin makes central banks obsolete, well, let's go down a notch. What happens to the other banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America? those are their primary dealers. Those are commercial banks. And what a primary dealer is, they're market makers for government treasuries. They're the only entities allowed to interact with the central bank. So, and THORChain, it's a market maker for Bitcoin, the new future central bank. And if we take it a step further, these primary dealers, they also are known as commercial banks, which is like savings accounts, checkings accounts, mortgages, business loans. That's the commercial banking arm. And that commercial banking arm with the primary dealer function makes them the biggest banks in the world. Well, THORChain also has like a savings account. THORChain is going to have lending, the ability to borrow money, collateralized lending. So if Bitcoin is going to make central banks obsolete, THORChain could make the commercial banks obsolete. So again, THORChain isn't competing with Bitcoin. THORChain is a complement for Bitcoin, and to help get Bitcoin more into the crypto economy, make it more accessible. And I actually like to think of THORChain more as core infrastructure for crypto, and it's really important because infrastructure is crucial to an economy to succeed. So if we go back to America in the 1800s, prior to the Civil War, the U.S. was the world's 9th largest economy. But despite beginning of the Civil War, that's when the U.S. entered the Gilded Age, and that's when the U.S. really built out its infrastructure, the railroads and whatnot. And within 16 years, the U.S. is catapulted into the world's #1 economy. They're producing more steel than Germany, France, and Britain combined. And the people that made that possible, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan, they made fortunes. And their families are still living off those fortunes today. And the list isn't complete without mentioning John D. Rockefeller, right? And he started Standard Oil in 1863, and 16 years later, 90% of the oil and gas infrastructure in the U.S. And I stress the word infrastructure. He wasn't drilling for oil, he wasn't discovering it. He made oil more accessible to the average and refined products to the average American. And he had a monopoly on it, and that's how he made his fortune. And I see THORChain as something similar. THORChain is bringing Bitcoin to the average user, making it more accessible to people. So just like railroads in America, it transferred people and goods across vast distances like never before. THORChain transfers tokens and value across blockchains like never before. And so I view THORChain as like the railroads of crypto, and the RUNE token making up those rails, making it possible. And so it's pretty exciting because I talk about if you talk about infrastructure today, who cares? Nobody would be interested. But in an emerging economy, building infrastructure is huge and can have huge returns. And it's simple because everybody needs it, right? Everybody wants it. Like the railroads in America, they already existed in Europe. People just kind of copied and pasted it and brought it to America. Everything with what THORChain is doing with swapping Bitcoin and having savings and lending, that all exists already in centralized finance. THORChain is bringing it to DeFi, to decentralized finance, right? So think of Bitcoin as the discovery of digital property. And there's this new frontier, this new crypto frontier is being settled right now. And this new economy, this new territory, this new digital frontier, it needs infrastructure. And that's what THORChain is. THORChain is infrastructure for DeFi. And don't take it from me about how big DeFi can get or where it's going. Let's hear from Patrick Hillman.
We firmly believe that the crypto industry is going to continue to evolve towards true decentralization. It's what the tech was invented for. it's the most exciting part about the tech, and it's where the tech, I think, shows the most obvious sort of opportunities for the global economy and for the average user. And so, CEXs are going to continue to have a role to play over the next decade, but CZ has been real clear. He said it on multiple occasions that there's a good chance that Binance might not even have an exchange in 10 years from now, because again, we foresee that DeFi is going to continue to move towards greater adoption and will eventually reign supreme.
So that's a pretty big statement. And he mentioned CZ. Let's just hear it from CZ. Let's see what he has to say. And let me go. Here he is. What does CZ have to say about DEXs?
But I think in 5-10 years, these decentralized exchanges will be bigger than centralized exchanges. So this is why we invest very heavily in blockchain development, wallets, trust wallet, ISF PAL, which we invested as well. We invest in multiple wallets. So I do believe that I would say maximum in 10 years, DEXs, DeFi is going to be bigger than CeFi.
So CZ has billions of reasons not to think that, right? He's a founder of Binance and he's a billionaire. Binance is the biggest crypto exchange in the world. He has every reason in the world to not, to stay on top, right? He doesn't want to be see anybody get bigger than him. But he knows, he sees the future. He knows the whole point in crypto is DeFi, is decentralization. That's where it's going. That's where the industry is moving towards. So rather than fight it, he's getting on board with it. He's supporting it. So how can a decentralized exchange become bigger than Binance? A lot of it has to do with his inventory and it being decentralized. And there's precedence for this in the physical world. Uber, world's largest taxi company, its inventory of taxis and drivers are decentralized. Airbnb, world's largest hotel company, its inventory of rooms, houses, whatever, they're decentralized. Airbnb doesn't own any of those. YouTube, largest video company in the world, they don't produce any of that content. None of those videos. It's all just random people like me, right? This video right now, it's going up. And so these entities have become, and not only the largest, but they grow to become the largest very quickly because of that decentralized nature. THORChain, the market maker function of THORChain, all the inventory for the market maker is decentralized. And so it can become the biggest market maker in the world. It can make THORChain the biggest exchange in the world because it's decentralized. And what's really cool here is THORChain takes it even a step further in that the interface with THORChain is also decentralized. So if we go back to like Uber, Airbnb, YouTube, you have to download their app, go to their website to access their inventory, to access all their products. With THORChain has a website. There is a THORChain website, just like there's a Bitcoin website. But those websites aren't you could take those down, and it's not like you take down THORChain.org or .com, THORChain doesn't stop, doesn't go away. You take down Bitcoin.org, it doesn't stop Bitcoin. It just keeps ticking, humming along. It has nothing. The website has nothing to do with the success or ongoing of the protocol. Whereas you take down YouTube, Airbnb, or Uber, those services are done, right? So how does THORChain do this? How does it not rely on its website and decentralize all the interfaces? It's pretty cool because the way they do it is because THORChain is open source. Any wallet can integrate with it. So all of these wallets you see here, they can have THORChain running in their background. It doesn't cost the wallet anything to add THORChain. It's just a time for the developers to integrate it. And you heard CZ mention investing in Trust Wallet before. So Trust Wallet, that's Binance's wallet. It's one of the largest crypto wallets in the world. on their site it says 20 million users. I've heard 25 million. I've heard CZ say they've got 50 million users. I'm not sure, but it's in the tens of millions of users. And they announced integration of THORChain back in December last year, and they did it because they want to offer their users the ability to swap Bitcoin, and THORChain is the only place to do it. And shortly after Trust Wallet announced it, see December 14th, 2 weeks later, December 23rd, Exodus, they tweet this. They don't want to be left behind. THORChain swapping would be awesome for the Exodus wallet. And they're going to work on it. And then, let me move my head out of the way. And then Ledger, and a couple weeks after that, said, we're working on THORChain integrations. Stay tuned. So what's cool is, because Trust Wallet did it, it kind of forces everyone else's hands to follow suit. Because why would anybody want to use a crypto wallet that can't swap Bitcoin? Especially especially if the wallet is free, like Trust Wallet. Like, yeah, Ledger, you have to pay for it, but a lot of these crypto wallets, they're free. And why, if you're going to get one for free and you have all these to choose from, you're going to choose the one that can swap Bitcoin, right? It's a no-brainer. So when you have a heavyweight like Trust Wallet integrate THORChain, it really kind of forces the hand of everyone else to do it. And this is how the interface with THORChain becomes decentralized. Is, I believe eventually every wallet is going to have THORChain integrated in the background. And so you're going to have dozens, if not hundreds, or even thousands of wallets with THORChain running in the background. And if one of those wallets goes away, runs out of business or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's dozens and hundreds of other wallets running THORChain. And the wallets don't have to do this. They're not being altruistic here. It's not just, hey, we're just put in some effort and time to introduce a feature. They have a financial reason to do it. And so all of these wallets, these interfaces, they can program in their own custom commissions. So even though these swaps are going through THORChain, and THORChain collects its own fees on everything, the wallets can add in an additional fee or commission to each swap that they're enabling their users to perform. And so this gives the wallets a way to monetize their audience. And this is important because a lot of these crypto wallets, they follow Silicon Valley business model of getting users, getting eyes, and then finding a way to monetize them. So a lot of these wallets, they've been around for like 10 years and haven't monetized their audience. Now they can. Now they have a way to do it. And so not only do they have a financial incentive to incorporate THORChain, it's also a feature that their users want. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. And what also is cool, Trust Wallet took about 18 months to finish their integration. Not that it takes that long. A wallet that's motivated could do it probably in about 6 weeks. But every company, right? There's still Trust Wallet's still a company, still has red tape, still has meetings and everything, all that kind of stuff to go through. But that's how long it took them to do their due diligence, their testing, everything to get comfortable to get THORChain going. Ledger, I assume something similar is probably take them several months. But especially once Ledger integrates THORChain, what'll happen is the other wallets will see this and they're going to piggyback on their due diligence, right? A smaller, lesser wallet is going to see this and say, oh, okay, well, it's good enough for Trust Wallet and Ledger. They're pros, they're top dogs in the space. They did all the work. They integrated THORChain. Well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. And that'll accelerate adoption. That'll get more wallets, coming on board quicker. So that all sounds great, and I think it's probably a good time to get into the upside. I know that's what you care about, right? How much money can you make, right? I wanted to go through everything before that, just to kind of build up to this, to not just everything, every investment you can talk about has 100x potential, right? But what's the probability of that happening? We're not, lottery tickets have huge upside, but extremely low probability of success. So everything I've gone over up to this point, I'm trying to highlight and demonstrate the probability of THORChain succeeding, and not going away. So I think THORChain's here to stay. It's not going away. It's going to be used. It is being used. The question is, how big can it get? And like CZ said, he thinks DEXs are going to be bigger than CEXs. And using like Airbnb as an example, it was at one point it was valued larger than the 3 largest hotel companies combined. So there's definitely precedence for a decentralized entity become bigger than their centralized counterparts. So going with this, thinking about this, RUNE could become the next number 3 crypto. In the bull market in 2021, Binance's coin, that catapulted into the number 3 crypto spot. Coinbase, it went public in April 15th, 2021. When it went public, its market cap would have put it at the number 5 crypto. So, these centralized exchanges, they command valuations, in the top 5 crypto. Right now in the bear market, Binance and Coinbase, they're still in the top 10. Binance has slipped down to number 4. Coinbase would be about number 7. And it makes sense. Trading volume is down. Stable coins have moved up. Tether is now number 3. It's bear market. More people are in cash. But the point is, they're still in the top 10. And THORChain right now is like number 95. It got as high during the peak in April 2021. I think as high as like number 35 market cap. Now it's down to like 95. So it's a solid mid cap. It's in the top 100, and but yeah, it could definitely become. Remember, it's the only DEX that can swap Bitcoin, and so that gains traction. It could become the next number 3 crypto, and so let's put some numbers to that. April 15th, 2021, that was in the throes of the bull market, and that's when Coinbase went public. And when they went public, they had a market cap of $63 billion. If RUNE had a market cap of $63 billion today, the token would be worth $193. Right now, it's trading at $1. So that'd be 193x. Back then, Binance, its market cap was $85 billion. If THORChain had a market cap of $85 billion, the token would be trading at $260. So 260x. That's bull market numbers, right? That's right. Let's go back. Let's look at some bear market numbers. And I just picked March 31st, kind of out of the hat, kind of still in the bear market. On that day, Coinbase, it had a market cap of $17 billion. If RUNE had the same market cap, the token would be trading at $52. So 52x. On that day, Binance, it had a market cap of $50 billion. If RUNE had the same market cap, it'd be trading at 153 per token. So even using bear market numbers, in theory, RUNE could 50 to 150x from here. And some other ways to look at this is the volume on these exchanges and compare it to the volume on THORChain. So as you can see, the volume on Binance here, it absolutely dwarfs the volume everywhere else. You'll notice I got the Uniswap as a DEX, Curve is a DEX, PancakeSwap is a DEX. I've got some other DEXs here. These are the 3 DEXs that are larger than THORChain in Navy. And I swear there's a line there, but it's Can you see it? I actually moved my head. I don't know if you can see it. There's a line there, but it's just so small it doesn't register. For every $1 volume on THORChain, there's over $1,000 of volume on Binance. And remember, CZ is saying these DEXs are going to become bigger than Binance, right? So they've got a long way to go, especially THORChain. Let's take Binance out of the picture. So it's easier to see everybody's volumes here. Again, notice I've got the DEXs in navy. And now you can just start to barely see THORChain. It's still a sliver, even on this chart. And again, let's compare THORChain to Coinbase. For every $1 volume on THORChain, there's $130 of volume on Coinbase. So even though Coinbase is smaller than Binance, Coinbase is still 100 times bigger than THORChain. So THORChain is tiny. It's got so much room to grow. And let's just look at the actual DEXs. So we got Uniswap, Curve, and PancakeSwap. These are the 3 DEXs bigger than THORChain. But it's important to note that Uniswap and Curve, those are just based on Ethereum. They can only handle Ethereum-based tokens. PancakeSwap, that's on Binance Chain. It can only handle Binance tokens. So none of these exchanges, none of these DEXs can handle real Bitcoin. Only THORChain can. And THORChain is still tiny compared to Uniswap. For every $1 volume on THORChain, there's $60 of volume on Uniswap. So pretty much no matter any which way you measure it, THORChain is absolutely tiny. And it has a lot of room to grow. So another way to think about THORChain and a way to value it is the number of users it has. Compare that to Coinbase and Binance and what they're being valued based on the number of users they have. So with THORChain right now, we've got about, based on all the wallets and websites, apps that have integrated it, has about 30 million potential users. And I stress the word potential because most of those people don't even know what THORChain is. When Trust Wallet turned on THORChain in December, doesn't mean instantly 20 million people know they can use THORChain and swap Bitcoin inside their wallet. It's going to take time for Trust Wallet to educate their users and let them know it exists. Plus, we're in a bear market. A lot of people, they're not even looking at their wallets. They just have it turned off or, logged out, and they probably won't go look at it until things get better. We're more in a bull market. So even though THORChain is in all these different apps and wallets, it doesn't mean it's being used right away. And this number too, this 30 million, that's only going to grow over time, right? Every new wallet that integrates THORChain, this number will go up, and it's not going to go down, right? No, they're not going to. A wallet is going to go through all that headache and trouble integrating THORChain just to remove it. So this number will just go up over time, and this could become hundreds of millions of people. It's very possible. But it's going to take time for those people to know they can use it. And it's more likely what will happen is this number will just keep going up, and then boom, all of a sudden, all at once, everybody's going to realize that they can use THORChain when the next bull market comes. Because as some people open their wallets, they'll notice it. Oh, hey, I can swap my Bitcoin. I can use this. And there'll be this flood or wave of volume coming. And so what's cool right now in the bear market is you get to front run all of that. You get to see this number go up and essentially get it for free. And because with Coinbase and Binance, when somebody opens an account with them, they're doing it consciously to go start trading. They know they have the account, then they can go use it, and they start using it right away. And so Coinbase and Binance, they appreciate they get the immediate effect of that. Whereas with THORChain, these users, these accounts, if you will keep going up and up and up, and the price of RUNE could go sideways very, very easily. So you get all of these users for free, especially right now. So like with Coinbase, they have about 110 million users, and based on its market cap, it's being valued at $156 per user. If we give that same valuation to THORChain and RUNE, RUNE should be trading at about $14 a token. If we look at Binance, they have about 120 million users. Those users are being valued at $417 each. We give that same valuation to THORChain and RUNE, then RUNE would be trading at 38 bucks. And RUNE's $1 right now, so 14x or 38x. And especially, that number keeps increasing to 50 to 100 to 200. Remember, because of the decentralized nature of the interfaces, any wallet, any app, any website can integrate THORChain. This number can get much larger than these numbers pretty quick. So, all of those numbers I'm going through, they're comparables, so, just an idea, a guesstimate. But if you're looking for something a bit more concrete, a bit more of a fundamental analysis, let's do that. We can do it. And what's great is we come to similar numbers, to similar prices for RUNE. And this is where it gets cool with RUNE, is it has an intrinsic value. Most cryptocurrencies can't say that. They're just governance tokens. All you can do with the token is vote. And even then, your vote, if 4 or 5 people own the majority of the tokens, your vote is worthless anyway. So, these tokens, a lot of them, they're not even required for the protocol to work. It's just a way for the creators to collect rent off their audience. These tokens they're not a claim to equity. There's no claim to cash flow, nothing like that. RUNE is totally different. RUNE has value. It has intrinsic value because it's what's in all the liquidity pools. It's paired with all the crypto in these pools. I'll go into that further. I just want to gloss over right now just to kind of introduce the concept that RUNE has a minimum value based on the value of the crypto in all the pools. And these pools are what make up the market maker function. So again, I'll go into further detail there, but just for now, accept that the value of RUNE is based on the value of crypto in the pools. And the price of RUNE, its market cap, can't go below the value of crypto in the pools. It can't go below 3 times the value of the crypto in the pools. So just memorize that. Keep that as a rule of thumb, if you will. And so this minimum value for RUNE that it can't go below, this minimum market cap, this is considered is called its deterministic price. This is what the THORChain community calls it. So RUNE cannot trade below this value. It can trade above that value, and that's known as a speculative premium. And this is the multiple, like price to earnings, price to NAV, price to book, whatever you want to call it. This premium is what the market is pricing in on THORChain on its further growth, and the premium can be as high or as low as what the market will handle. And but for now, let's just accept that the RUNE market cap has to be at least 3 times the value of the crypto in the pools. So to get an idea for the value of RUNE, we need to get an idea for the value of the crypto in the pools. And we can do that. So before I mentioned WBTC, the IOU for Bitcoin, the reason this is popular and people are using it is because people want Bitcoin in DeFi. They want to swap it on Uniswap. They want to earn yield on it. They want to borrow against it. They want to use it in DeFi. So there's a demand. There's a genuine demand for Bitcoin in DeFi. So it's reasonable to assume or estimate that however much Bitcoin is in WBTC could end up on THORChain. And right now, for every 1 Bitcoin on THORChain, there's 183 Bitcoin in WBTC. So wrapped Bitcoin is 180 times, there's 180 times more wrapped Bitcoin than real Bitcoin on THORChain. So again, THORChain's tiny, lots of room for it to grow. And if you recall, I said last fall, before FTX blew up, there's about 247,000 Bitcoin in WBTC. Now there's about 150,000 Bitcoin. So that's a good, we can use those numbers. THORChain could attract anywhere from 150 to 250,000 Bitcoin. And another way to look at this is the amount of Bitcoin that ended up on Celsius, BlockFi, and Voyager. These three guys all blew up last year. And these were all lenders in the space. People were putting Bitcoin on these platforms to earn yield. And that yield is coming from lending out the Bitcoin. All these guys added up together had about 250,000 Bitcoin. Celsius alone had 160,000. So again, that's another 160,000 to 250,000 Bitcoin in addition to WBTC, right? These are totally separate. That's 150 to 250,000 Bitcoin looking for yield, looking to earn some kind of return. And that's what THORChain offers it with the liquidity pools is yield. And THORChain, so THORChain also could attract, that much Bitcoin into its pools. So we have two different scenarios, similar numbers, 150 to 250,000 Bitcoin. So what would that mean for the RUNE price if that ended up on THORChain in the pools? So right now there's about 150,450 Bitcoin in WBTC. If that ended up into THORChain's pools and Bitcoin's trading at 30,000, the deterministic price of RUNE would be $41. That means the absolute lowest price it could be is $41. It couldn't go below that. Right now, the token's trading at about a 2 times premium. So if we times this number by 2, we get $82, right? This multiple here, this is for last year is hovering right around between 3 and 4. It's been as high as 20. This number, this premium is going to change based on market sentiment, right? We're in a bear market, so the premium is low, right? The market is expecting little growth. So what the market is saying, it only expects THORChain to double in the future, which I think is wrong. The market's wrong. But that's what it is. So, I can't argue with the market. That's what it's demanding. So we'll stick with it. What if things go really good and upwards of 250,000 Bitcoin end up on THORChain, and Bitcoin's trading at 30,000? Then the RUNE deterministic price would be $68. So this is what the minimum price of RUNE would trade for. It couldn't go below that based on having this much Bitcoin trading at 30 grand. And again, we give that a 2x premium, and we're going to trade $136. And the other thing interesting to note here too is, I'm fixing the price of Bitcoin at 30 grand. If Bitcoin goes to 60 grand, double all these numbers. If Bitcoin triples at 90 grand, triple these numbers. So not only is it a function of how much Bitcoin end up on THORChain, it's also a function of its price. And then also too, I'm just talking about Bitcoin. I'm not taking into account Ethereum or stablecoins or any other crypto on THORChain. I'm just talking about Bitcoin to come up with these numbers. So I'm just trying to keep it simple and basic, and we don't need to add in anything else to show the upside here. So I've been promising you to explain further how THORChain works, and we'll get into it here now. So first off, I think it's good to do a review of the different financial systems. So if you've heard of TradFi, that refers to traditional finance. That's your regular banks, central banking, all that kind of stuff. And with TradFi, you've got a brokerage account, which would be a stockbroker like Robinhood. And if you have an account with them, they give you access to an exchange like the NASDAQ or New York Exchange, where those exchanges decide what stocks to list and have available to trade. And if you have an account with Robinhood, they'll connect you to the exchange to go trade those stocks. When you're trading those stocks, you're trading with a market maker. And maybe you've heard of Citadel. And Citadel is one of the bigger market makers in the US. They're part of the whole fiasco with Robinhood, with the GameStop thing going on a couple years ago. So when people are buying and selling stocks through a brokerage account like Robinhood, they're most likely trading with a market maker like Citadel. And then sometimes you have a broker is a market maker in one, like Interactive Brokers. So that's TradFi, the traditional system. CeFi, centralized finance, is similar, except companies that specialize in crypto. So like Binance and Coinbase, they're considered CeFi. They're traditional companies, traditional financial institutions, but they just specialize in specialize in crypto. But they're structured slightly different. So like Coinbase and Binance, they're a broker and an exchange in one. So you open an account with them as the broker, and instead of connecting you to a different exchange, Coinbase and Binance are the exchange that you trade on. There's still market makers with CeFi, kind of like Citadel. There's market makers that specialize in crypto. So when you're buying and selling your crypto on Coinbase or Binance, chances are, again, you'd be buying or selling from a market maker. And this market maker function, even in regular finance, I think a lot of people maybe might struggle with to understand, but they're the ones that provide liquidity. They're not taking a direction. They're not going long or short. If you have a stock to sell, they buy it from you, but they immediately look for someone else to sell it to. They're just middlemen. They're just trying to get in and get out and collect fees. And to bring it back to the primary dealers, the JP Morgans and Wells Fargos of the world that are making a market for government securities, they're not going long on government bonds. They buy the bonds from the Fed and then immediately sell it off to their customers, and they make a small spread. They make a, they buy, they'll resell the bonds at a slightly higher price than what they bought them for, and this is what market makers and stocks do. And this is what Citadel does. This is what all they do. All market makers do. And so DeFi, decentralized finance, is where it's protocols. Right? There's no company involved. There's no head office. There's no CEOs. There's no board of directors. There's no legal entity. It's just a protocol, and and everything works according to the code. And DeFi is structured a bit differently than CeFi and TradFi. So for example, with THORChain, it's a exchange and market maker in one. It has those two functions. The brokerage firms in this case would be like the wallets or the apps that integrate THORChain. That's your front end, your interface that you're dealing with. And so they're all three a bit slightly different, but all at the end, doing the same things. And so with THORChain, it's important to understand the difference between the exchange aspect and the market making aspect. So the exchange side it's a bit simpler. Like any other exchange, THORChain will decide what tokens to list to trade. The nodes vote on that. And when somebody, you have your Bitcoin in your wallet, you send it to THORChain, it'll send you back equal dollar amounts of Ethereum or whatever other coin you're trying to buy. That's pretty simple, straightforward. That's where people maintain custody of their crypto the whole time. The market maker side is a bit more complicated. When somebody's doing a swap with THORChain, if you want to swap your Bitcoin for Ethereum, where does that Ethereum come from? Like, where is THORChain getting it to send back to you? And it's coming from a liquidity pool, from the market maker. So liquidity pools, they're invented by Uniswap, and this is what all decentralized exchanges use. And a liquidity pool is basically decentralized inventory, decentralized liquidity. It's a decentralized market maker, because there's no single entity or person in control of this protocol, right? So, where does the inventory of crypto come to swap? And it comes from these liquidity pools. And a liquidity pool is always paired with two different tokens, two different cryptos. And they're always balanced out 50-50 by dollar value. With Uniswap and all the other DEXs, they have, like Uniswap have like an Ethereum to Aave pool, Aave to Maker, Maker to DAI, like all these different pools for all these different pairs. And and you put Ethereum in the pool and you can pull out Maker. You put Ethereum in, you can pull out Aave, whatever. So the idea is whatever you're selling goes into the pool and you're buying whatever comes out. And so THORChain is structured a bit differently in that every pool is paired with the RUNE token. So there's only one Bitcoin pool as paired with RUNE. There's only one Ethereum pool paired with RUNE. And this is important because it allows these pools to grow very deep and very big instead of fragmenting the pools and all these different pairs. Like instead of having thousands of different pairs, there's just one. And the size of the pool, the depth matters because that's what makes the swapping in the pools cheaper. So, the cost to swap in the pool is a function of your swap relative to the size of the pool. So the bigger the pool, the better, means the cheaper it is to swap. And these pools are like houses of crypto. It's like a vault of crypto. And it's all individuals or funds, companies, whatever, anybody, hedge fund in New York to a housewife in Nigeria, anyone can contribute to these liquidity pools. And why do they do it? Why would somebody put Bitcoin or Ethereum in this pool? Just talking about all the, maintaining custody of your crypto, right? Well, people want to earn yield. So just like I highlighted with WBTC and Celsius and all those, there's people that want to earn yield on their Bitcoin, on their crypto. They want to rent it out. So it's the same reason people will rent out their vehicles on Uber. They want to earn some yield on it. Same thing, Airbnb. Rather than sit on their property, they want to rent it out, earn some kind of yield. And so a liquidity pool enables people to earn some yield on their crypto. Instead of just sitting on it, which is fine, they can, but if they want to earn some yield, they can do it this way. And so in this sense, when your crypto is in a liquidity pool, the THORChain kind of has custody. It's like decentralized custody. There's still no individual person or entity or group that can steal your crypto or defraud you or whatever. It's up to the nodes on the network. And the more nodes, the more decentralized, the harder it is for any of those to be corrupted or to do anything bad towards you. So the liquidity pools are where the inventory to swap come from. That's the market making function. And because these pools are all paired with RUNE, that's what gives RUNE intrinsic value. Right? As long as there's crypto in those pools, RUNE has a value because they're always balanced 50-50 by dollar value. And so when you swap, when somebody sends in, let's say you send in Bitcoin, you want to buy Ethereum, your Bitcoin will go into the pool. It increases the supply of Bitcoin, which will decrease the price of Bitcoin. And it'll take the same dollar amount of RUNE, transfer that over to the Ethereum pool, pull out the same dollar amount of Ethereum, and deliver it to your wallet. Now, you doing the swap, you don't see any of this happening. you know, you don't have to know anything about THORChain. You don't have to understand any of that. All you see is Bitcoin leaving your wallet and Ethereum coming back. And but in that process, you know, the pools, they're not going long. You know, when you sell Bitcoin to the pool, you know, the pool isn't buying it per se and selling your Ethereum per se. It's acting as a market maker. And so it's just one side of the transaction. The other side is arbitrage comes in, arbitrage bots. They will see the Bitcoin going to the pool, driving the price of Bitcoin down, and Ethereum coming out of the pool, driving the Ethereum price up. They'll see that, and they'll go to another market somewhere else, and they'll see that. They'll buy the Bitcoin out of the pool to go sell at a different market, and then they'll bring Ethereum into the pool to sell to drive the price down. So this is how the crypto and the pools, how the people never take, and they're never necessarily long or short. They're just acting as a market maker. They're just acting like a temporary go-between, if you will. And so, and since anyone in the world can contribute to these pools, this inventory, it's decentralized, that's how it can grow and get big. So let me go next here. Yeah, that, you know, the whole concept of liquidity pools and market maker, I know it might sound confusing, maybe it's tough to grasp, but let's go look at a real world example. Let's go Walmart. So think of Walmart, it's an exchange in that it decides what products it wants to put on its shelves. And it's also a market maker. So when you go to Walmart and you want to buy something, think of whatever you're buying there, think of that as a liquidity pool. So you can have socks, a socks liquidity pool, a toaster liquidity pool, cracker liquidity pool, batteries, whatever. Just imagine what you see on the shelves is one half of the pool, and the other half is backed by dollars that Walmart has in its bank account. And when you buy something from Walmart, you're pulling, you're sending your dollars into their pool, and they're sending you back the product. And then once you leave, Walmart is going to take those dollars out of the, you know, remove it from their pool, go buy another product and put it back on the shelf. And so, you know, Walmart is acting like a market maker. You know, they're not necessarily going long or short the product or dollars. They're just collecting fees on the transaction. And so same thing, if you have your product at home, like, oh, I want to take it back, get my money back. You go back to Walmart, you deposit it into their pool, and you get your dollars back. And so Walmart will take that product. Maybe there's something wrong with it. They send it back to the manufacturer, and they get their money back, and that money comes back into their pool and balances it out. So you know, this concept of liquidity pools and market making, it's just, it might sound different. Hopefully it helps you understand a little bit. But once you go through it a few times, it should start making sense. But a big difference between, say, Walmart and THORChain is Walmart does own the inventory on its shelves. And like any retailer, they want to keep those inventories as small as possible, right? That's capital tied up, it's inefficient use of their money. You know, they want just-in-time delivery, right? You know, they don't want their money tied up in the inventory. And this happens with, like, remember when toilet paper, you know, there's a shortage there. It's not necessarily a shortage of toilet paper, just the supply chains couldn't handle the increase in demand. And so this is where it gets cool with THORChain, is it's not, because THORChain doesn't own the inventory, individual users do. You know, THORChain doesn't care, you know, about the value of the inventory. If it's going up or down, they're not, you know, it doesn't matter to them. Just like Uber and Airbnb. Uber doesn't care what the price of vehicles are, if it's going up or down. Airbnb doesn't care if real estate is hot or not. They're just collecting fees. And same with THORChain, is providing this vehicle, this avenue for people to participate in this market making activity, this decentralized automatic market maker. And the people that own the crypto, putting it into pools, they're obviously long, they believe in their crypto, they want to own it and hold it. They're just renting it out for the time being to earn some yield. And so this is where the whole concept of decentralized liquidity comes from. And the bigger this inventory of liquidity can get, the cheaper it'll be to trade, right? Or to swap, sorry. Because remember, the cost to swap is a function of your swap size relative to the pool size. So as these pools get bigger and deeper, the cost to swap is going to get cheaper. And that'll attract more volume, more interest. That'll get more yield going to the pools and help grow them, right? Because that's why people are putting their crypto in these pools, because they want to earn some yield. So these pools, they have to be protected somehow. So even though someone puts, say, Bitcoin into a liquidity pool, they can pull it out whenever they want. They still maintain custody in that regard. But there's another layer to it. The THORChain also has some custody to it as well, because THORChain, the network, has to be able to approve transactions, approve swaps, send Bitcoin out of the pool if somebody wants to buy it. And so the THORChain network also has control over those liquidity pools. And by having control, that means they have the keys. And that's what these pools, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, it's just Bitcoin sitting at one address. And there's keys to that address. And same with the Ethereum pool. All the Ethereum there is sitting at one address, and there's keys to that address. So something has to have those keys. And with THORChain is the nodes. The keys to those addresses where all the crypto is held, those keys are split up between all the node operators. So no single node operator, no single person, no single entity has the keys to any of that crypto. All the keys are broken up between all the nodes. So right now there's like 80 some different nodes, and every key to every address is broken up into 85 pieces and split up between all those nodes. And the way it works is you need 2/3 of those pieces to come together to access the crypto in the pools. And so every single trade, every single transaction on THORChain every single swap has to be approved by the nodes. 2/3 have to come together to form a key to authorize a transaction. And so like with Coinbase or Binance, it's just one node, one key, right? It's one entity authorizing the transaction. THORChain, you have to have 2/3 of the nodes. So 2/3 of 85 is what, it's 56, something like that. Have to agree on the transaction. So that means for THORChain to be hijacked, for anybody to control it or influence make any kind of changes, do any kind of theft, anything like that, they'd have to get control of at least 2/3 of the nodes. And to do that is pretty hard. So to become a node isn't exactly easy, especially to get capture 2/3 of the nodes. First off, just to be one node, you need about 1 million RUNE to enter the network. You're right, so you have to go put up cash to get your node on the network. And then you have to churn in. Every 3 days, there's a churn where nodes are kicked off and nodes are added. And this is meant to keep the network fresh and prevent the network from being hijacked, basically. It's also meant to remove nodes that aren't participating properly. Maybe there's honest people running them, but they're just doing a bad job. And it's a way to kick them out. Nodes that don't upgrade to the latest version, what have you. They're kind of at the top of the list to get kicked out every 3 days. And then the ones that get added are the nodes with the highest bond, who are going to contribute the most security to THORChain. And but if you wanted to get 2/3 of the nodes to try and get control of the network, you'd have to come up with 56 million RUNE, and you'd have to try and get your nodes churned into the network. And if there's one node going in every 3 days, it'd take you about half a year to get your 56 nodes in. And that's assuming the ones you've already got in don't get kicked out in the meantime. And so it'd be really, if an economic actor, somebody's trying to make money, it doesn't make sense for them to get control of THORChain, get in there and try to hijack it. They may as well try and protect the network. It's the same as Bitcoin. If somebody spent all that money to get 51% of the hash rate, they're better off just contributing to the security of Bitcoin, protecting their money, and earning a return. It's the same thing with THORChain. Somebody spends all that money, that effort to get all those nodes into the network, they may as well just protect it, especially because the amount of money that's bonded by the nodes is always worth more than the crypto that can be taken from the pools. And this is what makes THORChain economically secure. So the nodes always have more to lose than what could be stolen. And whether it's from them themselves stealing the crypto or from a third party, from a hacker stealing from the network. So this is what gives the nodes every incentive, every financial reason in the world to protect and secure the network and not steal from it. And this is what makes the security of THORChain decentralized. We're not relying on any one person or individual. It's all these nodes coming together to provide the security. So what can happen here is the amount of RUNE bonded in the network, it can fluctuate, right? We can't force people to become node operators. We can't force how much RUNE gets bonded. The best we can do is incentivize it. And this is where the incentive pendulum comes into play. So each line here is the same. The network is always trying to balance out for $1 in liquidity pools and $1 in the bond. And remember, the pools are always 50-50, crypto and RUNE. And so we have to, so at any given time, there's 50 cents of crypto and $1.50 of RUNE. Or just make it a bit easier, for every $1 of crypto in the pool, there's $3 of RUNE. And so this is where that 3 times the crypto in the pool value comes from. Remember that rule of thumb I gave you, that deterministic price, that deterministic value. And when THORChain is in balance, the RUNE market cap will be worth at least $3, at least 3 times that of the crypto in the pools. And when this balance is struck, all the yield, the revenue, the fees, the swapping fees, all those commissions will get split evenly between the pools and the nodes. And but this, the amount of this RUNE here can fluctuate. What's also important to understand is, hopefully this helps you understand, this RUNE is what secures the network. So these nodes posted, this $2 of RUNE. If they got together, let's say they wanted to collude and steal this crypto. In theory, they could. 2/3 of them got together, they could do it. But if they did that, the network has been hacked, RUNE goes to 0. And so that goes to 0, this goes to 0. That $1 crypto would remain. But the nodes would have spent $2 to steal $1. It doesn't make sense. And the same thing too, maybe there's an outside hacker, attacker, somebody trying to get at this. The nodes have every reason in the world to protect this, because if this gets stolen and taken, they lose this, right? Because RUNE would go to 0. So, so by having RUNE paired in every liquidity pool, that gives it a value. And then by using RUNE to post as a bond, that gives the network security because people don't want to lose what they have invested in it. And so the network's in balance. It's always trying to balance out at $3 RUNE for every $1 crypto. And this is why I say so use that as your rule of thumb for the baseline minimum market cap, minimum value of RUNE is 3 times the value of the crypto. But this system can get out of balance. We can end up in a scenario where we have way more RUNE bonded than what's in the pools. So again, each one of these lines, I'm saying the same thing, just writing it out differently. Imagine we have $1 crypto in the pools and $5 bonded. That'd be like, again, each pool is 50-50. I'm just doubling it to use whole round numbers here. So imagine we had $1 crypto in the pools and $10 of RUNE bonded. That would give us a total of $11 of RUNE in the whole network. This is capital inefficient, right? It doesn't matter if the node operators, whether they lose $2 or $10, neither scenario makes sense, right? They don't, it doesn't make sense to jeopardize this $10 to try and take that one. So basically anything over, $2 let me go back, anything over $2 is inefficient. And really, if you really want to think about it, this could be as low as $1.01, right? As long as this number is always higher than this number, it doesn't make sense for the nodes to steal. But having it at 2 to 1, that gives a good buffer for the network. So when this happens, if there ends up being a lot more RUNE bonded in the nodes, the incentive pendulum is going to swing towards the pools. And what that means is all the yield, the commissions, the swapping fees, is going to be weighted towards the liquidity pools to encourage more crypto being deposited in the pools and to discourage any more RUNE being bonded in the network. People can, but just going to earn less yield, right? There's less incentive. So the idea is to try and push people to put crypto in the pools. Now, what about the opposite? What if there's not enough RUNE bonded? What if there's so much crypto in the pools that the network becomes insecure? So imagine if there's $5 crypto in the pools and $1 of RUNE is bonded. Again, I'm just breaking it down to try to get the whole numbers. So imagine if we had $5 worth of crypto and only $2 of RUNE. Well, the node operators, in this case, it would make sense for them to jeopardize the $2 to steal 5. That would make economic sense for them to do that. And so we obviously do not want to get to this scenario. And this is where the hard cap comes in. So these pools can never get this, this size here can never grow. It's capped at the bottom 2/3 of the node bond. So this scenario here, it can't play out because the pools are physically limited by the protocol, by code, that it can never get to this point. So that hard cap means there'll always be more RUNE bonded in the network than what could be stolen for crypto. We might get close. This number might get close to being even, but this will always be larger than this one. And as the network is approaching, becoming more insecure, as the value of the pools are getting larger than the value of the bond, the incentive pendulum kicks in and will be shifting more yield towards the bond, towards the node operators. And so that's meant to encourage more nodes to enter the network, increase the size of their bond, get more RUNE bonded in the network to secure it. And it's meant to disincentivize the people in the pools. They say, hey, listen, you're not getting any yield or very little, you should just withdraw your crypto, or at least don't put any more on. And that'll help reduce the size of the pools, or at least prevent them from getting any larger and making the network more insecure. So this incentive pendulum of shifting the yield back and forth between pools and the nodes is meant to try and help balance out the network. And so let's just revisit here the RUNE deterministic price. So when the network is in balance, we have about $3 a RUNE for every $1 crypto. And the, excuse me. So, that's why the rule of thumb is just RUNE is valued based on 3 times the value of the crypto. What's cool is this crypto it's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, it's stable coins. It's all the different cryptos on the exchange, on the pool, in the pools. All of those cryptos represent about 95% of the total crypto market cap. All those different cryptos represent the crypto market. And so what this means is the value of all these cryptos is really the value of the crypto market. And since RUNE derives its value from the liquidity pool where it's paired with this crypto, the value of RUNE is now a reflection and mirror of the value of the whole crypto market. And this is what makes RUNE essentially an ETF on crypto, because the whole RUNE value is determined based on the value of these cryptos in these pools. And since these cryptos are a cross-section of the whole sector, RUNE's value is a cross-section of the whole sector. So as the whole crypto market goes up in price, RUNE will go up in price. As the whole crypto market goes down in price, RUNE will go down in price. But let's just pretend the market's going sideways. It's not doing anything. If new crypto is being added to the pools, that drives up the size of the pool, drives up the price of RUNE. Conversely, if crypto is withdrawn from the pools and lowering the value, dollar value of crypto in the pools, RUNE will go down. So you have these 2 different mechanisms that drive the RUNE price. It's the value of the cryptos in the pools going up or down, and it's the crypto being added or withdrawn from the pools, driving RUNE up or down. And so in a bull market, when cryptos are going up and everyone's contributing to the pools, you get a double whammy. You get 2 ways for the RUNE price to go up. In a bear market, like we have right now, all the cryptos are down in price. That drives down the RUNE price. And then people might be pulling crypto out of the pools, which drives the price down even more. So, we are in a bear market right now. So the RUNE price is down. So let's just recap on what can affect the RUNE price. It's how much crypto is in the pools, the total value of the crypto market, and then the speculative premium. So based on these values here, we get our intrinsic value, our deterministic price of RUNE. But RUNE can also trade at a premium to those values. And that premium is the growth the market is pricing in to THORChain. And it's probably easier to look at it here. I'm going to move my head out of your way. So here's a price chart of RUNE. It's pretty ugly. It peaked here, and this is during the bull market in 21. We're down 95% from there. And you notice this dotted line. This is the deterministic price. This is that base price of RUNE that it can't trade below. And the shaded part, the aqua, that's the premium. And so you can see over time, this premium has collapsed, right? So right around here is trading about 3 to 4 times. Now it's trading like around 2 times premium. But you can see the deterministic price has actually been relatively flat, over the years. We had a nice spike here That was in the fall of 21. That's when Bitcoin was peaking. And right here, Bitcoin peaked, or the whole sector peaked, and it crashed in the summer. That's when all the mining left China. And then when pretty much all went back online, Bitcoin rallied again, the whole sector rallied up again, and then it came back down. And then in January, the sector seemed to bottom and seemed to start recovering. And going into April 2022, we had a nice run up, in particular with THORChain. This was when a lot of Luna was added to the exchange. And so it was about 125 million worth of Luna and UST came on the exchange. So that really drove up the deterministic value, deterministic price. But then you know what happened? Luna blew up. And so all of that Luna and UST that was added all went to zero. It all went away. So THORChain ended up right back where it started, right here. And but you can see the premium is a lot lower than it was here. I think back here, I think the premium was more like around 7x. And so even though the deterministic price of RUNE has actually held up pretty well, or been pretty constant, it's this premium has collapsed over time because we're in a bear market. And so right now we're at about a 2, maybe 2.5 times premium. That's the way that the market is saying THORChain is only going to double in size from here, right? There's about 50, 60 million of crypto on THORChain right now. And the market is saying, you know, looking forward, saying that's only going to grow to 100, 120 million. It's not going to get any bigger. And I'm trying to make the case to you it's going to go to billions, right? That was kind of the point of everything I was before, is trying to highlight there could be billions of crypto on THORChain. So if that happens, when that happens, will the speculative premium change? We'll see. I would think so, especially in a bull market. You know, people start pricing in future growth. The speculative premium should go up. But what's great is we don't need it to, right? Especially at these prices, these lows. If the speculative premium just stayed at 2 forever, that's fine. What matters is this dotted line. We need this deterministic price to go up, and that goes up when there's crypto added to the pools, and that crypto will come into the pools. And this is where we get into a theory called the liquidity black hole. So this is where it gets pretty interesting, pretty cool, is how can THORChain grow? How is all that growth going to happen? How are those pools going to get huge? How is all that trading volume going to take off? How is THORChain going to become the biggest exchange in the world? And it's going to happen with there's three unique codependent virtuous cycles that will occur at the same time. And these cycles, when you add them all together, is what the community calls the liquidity black hole. So it starts with wallets integrating THORChain. This is the spark. This is the egg. We need the front ends, the wallets, the apps, the whatevers to have THORChain running in the background. When that happens, their users will start swapping, on THORChain. The volume on THORChain will go up. The swap volume in those wallets goes up. Because those wallets can program in their own commission, their own fees, they'll start earning revenue. And because the ability to swap inside their wallet is something people want, they're going to start getting more users. And they might even start gaining market share versus their competition. The competition will see this, and they want in on the action too. They want to start earning some revenue, and they want to maintain market share, or they're trying to grow their market share, right? They're in competition. So what are they going to do? They're going to integrate THORChain. And this cycle continues until every wallet in the world, every app, every front end has THORChain integrated. And that brings us to the next cycle. So when the swap volume is increasing because of all those wallets, all those people using THORChain, the fees to THORChain increase, right? THORChain is doing this for free, right? We're charging a commission on every swap. And as those swaps go up, so do the fees. And those fees, part of them go towards the liquidity pools. And that's the yield people get for contributing their crypto to those pools, right? That's for the incentive for somebody to provide their car as inventory as a taxi on Uber, or provide their house as inventory with Airbnb. They're doing it for the yield. For somebody to provide their crypto as inventory on THORChain, they're doing it for yield. And so the yield to those people will go up. Others will see the yield on those pools going up. They're going to want to add their crypto to it. Just like Airbnb. Everyone sees how much money you're making. I want to put my house up on there too. I want to earn some yield. And so the crypto in the pools will increase. The liquidity will increase. The depths of the pools will get bigger. As the pools get bigger, the cost to swap in them goes down, because every swap that's done on the pool, the cost to swap is directly proportional to the size of that swap to the size of the pool. So the bigger the pool is, the cheaper it is for each individual swap. The cheaper it is to swap, the more volume that will attract, right? Especially people like to trade and whatnot. They'll be more encouraged to be more active traders. So the volume will go up. As volume goes up, the trading fees go up, the commissions, and so on. And we get this virtuous cycle. And this is what this is the liquidity pools increasing. This is what we really want to see. This is the key to the RUNE price going up. And this is what we want to see grow and get big. And then there's a third cycle, the security. So again, when we have the swap volume increase, we're going to see the commissions increase on THORChain. And part of that yield goes to the nodes, right? They have to have an incentive to participate in the network. They're doing it to earn yield as well. The more yield that goes to the nodes, the more it encourages nodes to participate, or encourages new nodes to come onto the network, or encourages existing nodes to increase the size of their bond. So the amount of RUNE bonded in the network increases. When that happens, the network security increases. Remember, because RUNE secures the network, right? When the security increases, that allows room for more crypto to go into the pools. And especially if there's more node operators, it's telling the market, hey, this is secure, this is safe, your crypto is okay here. It gives people more comfort to contribute their crypto into the pools. So we see the pools increase in size. And then again, the bigger the pools, the cheaper it is to swap. Cheaper it is to swap, the more volume we get. And the cycle continues. And it keeps going. And again, this is what we want to see. These liquidity pools increase in size. This is how RUNE really goes up in price, and we all become happy. So what happens when we add all three of those together? We get the liquidity to black hole. So we get the wallets integrating THORChain, increases the swap volume. They get revenue market share. The competitor wants the same. They integrate THORChain and keeps going. That increases swap volume, right? You can follow it all along here. These commission fees, these swap fees on THORChain for every swap, that's split between the pools and the node operators. And so you can see these cycles, they all work together. And it's all about getting this here, the liquidity pools that increase in size. So this is the wallets integrating THORChain. That's the spark, and this is the fire. This is what we need to see happen, and this is what we want. This is the end game. And this is why it's important to have like a wallet like Trust Wallet, integrate THORChain, one of the bigger guys, and seeing Ledger work on it too. it's just going to force every other wallet's hands to do the same and really get this cycle going. Once this cycle really gets going, this goes up. Once that really goes up, this cycle gets going, and this cycle gets going. So it's and this whole, these interacting concentric, how do you ever say it? These three different cycles all working in concert with each other. It can keep growing and growing and growing. The only thing to stop it is just the natural equilibrium of the network, right? Because it's decentralized. 8 billion people in the world can participate in this. There's nothing to stop it besides the, however many wallets want to get involved, whatever limits there are in THORChain, like the hard cap, maybe that gets reached for some reason. But as far as actual, people integrating with THORChain and using it and participating, the sky's the limit. Every human being can get involved in this. So this is what's pretty cool. I definitely, if you've made it this far, spend some time to let this sink into your head, because once you understand all these cycles working together, you're really gonna understand the upside in the RUNE token. And just to kind of reiterate with the wallets, so this is what I meant about Trust Wallet, why it's important for them to integrate. Exodus following suit, then Ledger. We're going to see more of this happen. And let's move my head back out of the way. I expect to see over the next 12 months more of these wallets integrate THORChain. So THORChain, all I've talked about really up to this point has just been the exchange side and the market maker side. There's other features being added to THORChain. There's single side savers. So we talked about the liquidity pools, people wanting to put their Bitcoin and crypto into those pools to earn some yield. When they do that, they're also exposed to the RUNE token, right? When you have when you contribute to any liquidity pool, whether THORChain or any other protocol, you're essentially buying units of that pool, and those units are always backed 50-50 by the crypto in the pool. So if you have Bitcoin in THORChain's pool, really what you have is 50-50 Bitcoin and RUNE, and not everybody wants that. Some people just want to hold their Bitcoin, save in Bitcoin, earn yield in Bitcoin, and that's what single side savers is. On THORChain, people can deposit Bitcoin and just earn Bitcoin. And there's a lending feature where people can deposit Bitcoin and borrow against it. That's coming out like any day now. And between savers and lending, this is exactly what Celsius and BlockFi and Voyager, like all those lenders, all those CeFi companies that blew up, that's what they were offering people. So there's a huge demand for people to use those products, but obviously not in CeFi, not in TradFi. The solution is DeFi. The solution is THORChain. All those, the way those companies blew up, they can't happen the same way with THORChain. Something else THORChain's working on is order books. So right now, if somebody wants to swap on THORChain, it's always a market order. You can't place a limit order, or you could on your own if you're following the price. You set an alert for yourself, and then that's when you go swap with THORChain. But like a stock where you just place a stink bid, you just and leave it, and maybe get filled in a month. You can't do that with THORChain. You can do that on Coinbase and Binance. And that's one of the nice things about using a centralized exchange right now. But THORChain is working on adding that feature, being able to place limit orders by having order books. We'll see. Another thing that's being talked about and worked on is perpetual futures. So futures trading is huge. It dwarfs spot trading. And if you recall those volume charts that I was showing you earlier, I was talking about, for every $1 volume on THORChain, there's over $1,000 of volume on Binance. Coinbase has like 130 times more volume than THORChain. Those are just spot volumes. I'm not including derivatives or futures. And futures volume tends to be much higher, like sometimes even like 3 or 4 times higher than spot volume. So if THORChain can figure out how to have perpetual futures, that would be a huge feather in the cap to increase volume. And remember, that increased volume, if I can go back here, right? That volume increases, that exasperates this cycle, right? And gets this growing huge. So anything we can do to get volume up, to increase those fees, the better, right? So I don't know if this is possible. It's being talked about, it's being worked on, but it's something. And really what I just want to highlight is that there's more to THORChain than just being an exchange or market maker. There's new features being added all the time and being talked about. It's definitely a work in progress on trying to make it better. All right, the risks. What could go wrong with THORChain? So there's a bunch of things. Hackers. All crypto, all software is all susceptible to being hacked. And but it also doesn't mean if one occurs, it doesn't mean it's the end of that crypto. So like Bitcoin, it was hacked in 2010. Somebody changed the code to put in 184 billion Bitcoin. And this is when Satoshi Nakamoto was still around. And him and the other developers got together. They did a soft fork of Bitcoin to basically fix it, to get that out. And look at Bitcoin today. It continued on, and it's a success story it is today. In 2016, there's a DAO on Ethereum. At the time, was the biggest project on Ethereum, raised $150 million. It was hacked. The Ethereum code itself wasn't hacked, but that DAO was hacked. And the way the Ethereum community handled it was they forked the Ethereum code to basically make that hack, to erase it, and created a new Ethereum blockchain. And so if you look at like coinmicrocap.com and you see Ethereum Classic, that's the original real Ethereum. And the Ethereum we know of today is this forked version that was done to subvert that hacker. And then there's hacks and all other have happened in other cryptos. So I'm bringing this up because THORChain has been hacked as well, and it doesn't mean it's overdone or there's a problem. And if anything, the hacks were expected. And I say there's multiple because there's a couple hacks that occurred within a week. And before we get into it, it's good to have some context here. So even before THORChain went live in summer of 2020, you can read there's Medium articles and whatnot, all kinds of tweets saying that THORChain is high risk. Don't use assets you can't afford to lose, or use at your own risk, basically. And what THORChain did was they launched with a alpha version called Single Chain Chaos Net, and this was just on Binance Chain, just using Binance-based tokens. And they did this alpha version as a way to start testing things, start testing the security model, the economic model, and the code, right? There's only so much thing you can do, only so many things you can do on paper. You got to start putting it out into the real world and start working it and practicing with it. So THORChain launched this Single Chain Chaos Net, and the whole point of it was to test things out. And they made it very clear, anybody who's using this, be careful, you could lose everything. Whether it's from hacks or even just problems with the code, and maybe just crypto gets lost forever because it doesn't work. So there's all kinds of warnings for people to use this, and plus the THORChain treasury committed to making people whole. That if anything was lost or stolen, the Treasury would pay people back. And so this SCCN, the single chain chaos net, it worked for about, it was in play for about several months, I think, up until, it was all during beginning of 2021, during the bull market there. And in around April of 21, that's when multi-chain chaos net was launched, MCCN. And this is the beta version of THORChain. And the single chain chaos net, that was working, was going good. They, fixed bugs and everything. No real issues. They're getting things sorted out. And so they realized, okay, now it's time to go to multi-chain, where they can actually start using real Bitcoin, real Ethereum, different layer 1 tokens. But it was still in chaos net. All the disclaimers, all the warnings are still there. All the the possibility of people losing funds was very real, and everyone participating in THORChain, knew about this, right? It was plastered everywhere. And again, with this MCCN, if there's any losses, the Treasury was going to make people whole. And so this got going in April of 21. And remember back then, like Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live talking about Dogecoin. Like the market was hot. It was booming. And when THORChain opened up or unrolled MCCN, they did it like a very, very small gated opening. Like they only allowed a couple $1 million on it first. And every few days, every week, they'd allow a few $1 million more on. And the reason they did this was to limit any losses, right? Everybody knew that, okay, there could be a problem. So, but we have to get going. They have to get, at some point you have to start, you have to go live, you have to start testing it. And so the way to try and mitigate the size of any problems is just manage and limit how much money could possibly be stolen or lost. And so this was so this happened for the first few months, where the developers just slowly increased the amount of crypto they would allow on the exchange to try and contain the risk, and also keep it at a level small enough to which the Treasury could pay people back should anything be lost or stolen. And lo and behold, there was a hack, or a couple hacks, all within a week. And I should also mention the reason for doing this, for having this slow gated release, is you can only, there's only so much testing you can do between yourself and others, right, on paper. You got to get things in real life, and you have to get other people, other actors, new brains, new eyes looking at it, especially adversarial eyes. And so by launching THORChain in a small gated way, it's kind of like, imagine you have a vault and you build a vault, and you're going to put $1 billion in it. And the people who built the vault for you, they assure you, oh, this is great, it's secure, it's the best vault in the world. Put your money in it. It's not going to get stolen. But you don't trust them. You want to double check their work. So you put $10 million in the vault, and you go to all the criminals, the Ocean's 11s of the world, and you say, hey, listen, if you guys can break into this vault, you can have the 10 million. And you're doing it because you're essentially paying them $10 million to audit the vault, right? And if they can break in to the vault and get that 10 million, now you can see how they did it. And you can know what holes you need to fix. And you'd rather that, you're happy to pay the 10 million for the audit, and then you can put the rest of your $1 billion in it, right? Because you want to be very confident and comfortable that that vault can't be broken into. And so that's what THORChain was doing with this gated launch, is they purposely kept the amount of money that could be stolen small, like a bounty, and invited real-world hackers, real-world attackers to come and look at it, take a peek, beat this up, tear it apart. If you can get it, fine. And so the hacks are actually a good thing for THORChain, because what they did was expose the holes, expose the problems, expose what needed to be fixed. And so what happened is when those hacks happened, it was about $16 million was stolen. THORChain went offline for a few months so the developers could regroup, reassess, and come back at it. And what they came back with was fantastic. They figured out all the reasons why this crypto was stolen. It was only on Ethereum. That was the problem, was the Ethereum part. The Bitcoin, the Binance coin, Dogecoin, Litecoin, whatever coin, all the other tokens, there was no issues with that part of the code. It was all just on the Ethereum code. And one of the things that they recognized and realized was that, they need a team, somebody who is, auditing the code 24/7. And it's to put together a team called THORSec. And this is a group of white hat hackers that's funded by the Treasury. They're funded with RUNE tokens, so they have every incentive to see the RUNE price go up and not go down. They continually audit the code as if, trying to break it, right? And if they find problems, fix them. And just like Coinbase, Binance, any other exchange, you're going to have security experts working on the exchange to try and protect it, right? So THORChain has that now. They have a team doing that. And the other thing was just there's a few more changes. I don't want to get too into the details, but basically they changed a lot of the way the exchange works. So now it's cheaper, or it'd be more advantageous for someone to claim a bounty, to report something wrong on THORChain, claim a bounty, get paid for it, than it is to actually steal. So like, for example, maybe I will get into one thing. So like, one of the problems with the hacks were the crypto is just leaving the exchange. There's no way to stop it. Now there's a way, if the nodes see something going on, they can halt THORChain. They can stop it, prevent the funds from leaving. Another thing is when crypto is leaving the exchange, when someone's doing a big swap, it gets delayed now. Instead of happening as quick as possible, the bigger the size of the swap, the more time that it takes to go through. And so what this does is limit or gate how much crypto can leave the exchange can leave THORChain at any given time, and give the nodes, give THORSec time to review and see if it's a problem. Had those two things been in place, the hacks wouldn't have occurred, because there's some developers, some nodes in the community, these did see something weird going on, but they had no way to stop or halt THORChain. And even without that, if the money that was stolen, the crypto was stolen, it just went out instantly. If that was held back and had to go out over a course of hours, that would have given the community more time to notice what was going on and to stop it. And so, and then another thing is there's an actual bounty, more official bounty was put in place. There was always one, but it wasn't as official. And now there's an official bounty. If somebody finds a bug, they can report it to THORChain developers, and if they acknowledge it's a real bug, something can get paid out on it. And so the idea now is that if somebody's trying to attack or go after THORChain, in theory, they'll make more money if they just report the bug and get paid honestly. Because if they try to attack the network, it's going to be much more difficult for them to get something out. All that being said, that's still a risk. It's always going to be a risk, is hackers on THORChain and on any other crypto, right? It's going to be, that's the risk everywhere. The best we can do is just try and minimize it. This goes back to THORChain being economically secure. The nodes, the people that truly, at the end of the day, secure the network, they have every financial reason in the world to try and protect it and prevent any hackers. So, hopefully it's not an issue, but that could be an issue. Regulators, I don't see them being as a problem. If anything, they could actually help us. So, everyone is so worried about the SEC, what they think, is crypto going to be a security? Which cryptos are securities? What are they going to do? Yada, yada, yada. The whole point of DeFi decentralization is to make regulators impotent. Right? Regulators they're just on their attack vector. They're just another outside party, another intermediary that DeFi decentralization eliminates. So, you can't point a gun at computer code. Right? These regulators can arm wave as much as they want. There's nothing they can do about computer code. They can go after the Coinbases and Binances of the world, the CeFi, the centralized entities, where they have an office, they have a CEO, they have a board of directors. DeFi protocols are just code. THORChain doesn't have a CEO. It doesn't have a head office. It doesn't have a board of directors. Who are these regulators going to go after? Right? There's no one to go after. And so with the real DeFi, the real decentralized crypto, it's better to think of it like its own country. The SEC, these guys in the US, I mean, their laws are only as good as the US border. You go past that, it's meaningless. And, despite the best efforts, the United States is not the center of the world. It's a major player, obviously, but it is not going to, the U.S. regulators are not going to decide the fate of crypto. It's the unbanked. It's third world countries. They're the real adopters of Bitcoin and crypto. They're the people that actually need it most. They're the ones using it most and driving it. And this is why I brought up earlier about anyone in the world can use THORChain, especially the 6 billion unbanked and underbanked people. They're the ones really driving Bitcoin and crypto because they're the ones that need it. The people in the West, especially the boomer regulators, they're the last people to it. That's not who crypto is for. So these regulators, the SEC, fine, they could let's just say they actually singled out RUNE, called it a security. What would that mean? For THORChain, it really wouldn't mean anything, because all that would happen is, say like Coinbase or Binance and the exchanges in the US wouldn't be able to sell or offer trading in RUNE unless THORChain registered with the SEC. Right, I just said before, there's no CEO or head office, anything like that for THORChain. No one's going to be registering with the SEC. So THORChain wouldn't be able to trade on any exchanges in the United States. Whoop-de-doo. It doesn't currently. I mean, it trades on Kraken, but barely any volume. The vast majority of volume is on Binance, which is outside the United States. And the SEC has no jurisdiction there. The SEC is, whatever you hear about SEC and Binance right now, they're going after Binance in the US. They can't touch the foreign Binance. And then more importantly, THORChain is its own DEX. THORChain is its own exchange. So even if every centralized exchange in the world didn't support Bitcoin, didn't support THORChain, you can still trade RUNE on THORChain. And there's no one to stop you from doing it. Doesn't matter where you live. If you live in the States, you can still go use THORChain. So the real risk with a crypto being considered a security is just liquidity, is your ability to sell it. You might, different exchanges may or may not list tokens based on whether they're security or not, right? So that's your concern with regulators coming down on crypto, is just your liquidity in that token. But with THORChain in particular, it doesn't matter. And if anything, the SEC or any regulator going after any of these CeFi companies, all it does is push people more towards DeFi, all it does is reinforce the needed demand for a THORChain, right? Something that can't be stopped, that can't be censored. And again, right, this is part of the reason why CZ is said, it said DEXs have become bigger than CEXs, and why he's investing in them, because if it does get that bad, get that ugly, where regulators start clamping down on these centralized exchanges, all that demand for crypto doesn't go away. All that need and want to trade doesn't go away. It will shift all towards DEXs, all towards DeFi. So, in a roundabout way, a lot of what these regulators are doing is just pushing people to THORChain. But all that still, you might still just want warm fuzzies. You don't want THORChain to be a security. There's a lot of reasons why I could justify it is a commodity. But it's, at the end of the day, it's arbitrary by the SEC, right? You could have a lawyer spend you could spend $1 million on a law firm and do the research and give you an opinion, and they'll come back to you and say, we don't know. And the reason is because the regulators don't know, right? The CFTC and the SEC, they're fighting each other it's a turf war. They're fighting over each other for jurisdiction. And the SEC, they're being reactive. They're regulating through enforcement, which is just really gross and dirty. The CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, they've been proactive in deeming Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, and some other coins as commodities, and they're regulating them as such. And they have some skin in the game too, because if the SEC declares any of those securities, it would make the CFTC's actions illegal. So the CFTC wouldn't have started, deeming these things commodities if they didn't believe that their research was correct. So if we follow their reasonings for why Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether are commodities, THORChain and RUNE, it falls in the same category. So, so I'm happy to assume THORChain and RUNE is a commodity, and but we'll see, right? Only time will tell how it all play out. The design. So THORChain there could be no hacks, there could be no issues with regulators, but it could still fall apart just based on its design. And so a good example of this was Luna and UST when that collapsed. There was no hacks, no regulators went after it. Luna fell apart because it was of its design. It was designed poorly, and I think it was somebody purposely crashed it. Somebody saw that design flaw, and really took advantage of it to crash it. And so that could happen with THORChain. There could be some of the way that THORChain is designed to work maybe ends up being its downfall. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't see anything like that right now, but there could be something, or something could become apparent down the road. And I mentioned this too before about THORChain keeps it's a work in progress. They keep adding new features. Every time they add a new feature, they're changing the design, and they're introducing a new attack vector for somebody to take advantage of, or a new way for THORChain to fail. And whenever something is changed, they're resetting the clock on the Lindy effect. So the Lindy effect is a concept that says the longer something has existed, the less chance it has of failing. And so like Bitcoin, for example, it's been around long enough that it shouldn't fail. It's pretty rock solid. If it was going to be hacked or the code is going to be broken, it should have by now. And this would lead a lot of people to argue to ossify Bitcoin. And the ossification of Bitcoin means to stop making any updates, stop changing the code, just leave it as it is. Because every time you make a tweak or change to the code, you reset that Lindy effect. You're resetting the time of the of that that long-term having that time of no problems. And so with THORChain, with every new design, every new feature comes out, the Lindy effect is being reset, right? We're resetting the clock to 0, and so that's so there's some risk there, right? And yeah, the next thing is adoption, and actually I think this is the more likely risk. Is anybody going to use THORChain? Does anybody care? I spent the first part of this video going through, this huge problem in crypto. I think it's a no-brainer. People start using THORChain as the obvious solution. But I mean, look at all those problems on the centralized exchanges. Despite all the hacks, all the frauds, people continue to use them. And so, you can lead a horse to water, right? And so even though THORChain is better and they should be using it, maybe they won't. I mentioned before all the wallets, when they integrate THORChain, they gotta let their users know. Maybe they do a poor job at promoting and communicating it to their users, and the users just don't know about it or just don't use it. And we just don't get the usage that I'm expecting. Maybe wallets just don't want to integrate THORChain. There's maybe what we see is what we get. I kind of doubt that. I think it's just more likely, people just don't use it. They just are happy using centralized exchanges, or maybe they're just they're happy using wrapped tokens. Again, despite all the problems with IOUs, there's a lot of people in the market pushing and promoting that. So maybe that's what people continue to use. Market risk. So, the whole, crypto market going up or down, that definitely affects RUNE. When your investment tracks the market, that's called as beta, right? And RUNE's beta to the market is very high, because remember how RUNE derives value? Half of it's based on the value of the crypto in the pools. So remember, and RUNE is kind of like an ETF on crypto. So as the crypto market goes up, the RUNE value goes up. As the crypto market goes down, the RUNE value goes down. So RUNE's going to be very sensitive to changes in the market. What's cool is, if you want to think big picture and really think outside the box, is if THORChain gets big enough, let's say it's the biggest exchange in the world, and let's just pretend there's several percent of the crypto market ends up in the liquidity pools, and is huge. The THORChain become the biggest market maker in the world, and these pools would become like the buyer of last resort. And so that'll actually dampen volatility in the sector. And let me add to this. So if you go back to March 2020, October 2008, during those stock market crashes, those were liquidity crises. That's when there's no bids, right? You couldn't, if you wanted to sell bonds or stocks or whatever, you had to take an incredibly low price. In 08, all those mortgage-backed securities, a lot of bonds, all that went to zero. Nobody's willing to buy it. And so the Fed stepped in and started buying it to give it a price and prop up the system. Because if that was priced at zero, the whole system is bankrupt, everything is kaput. In 2020, March 2020, US Treasuries went zero bid for a brief period of time. And again, that's when the Fed stepped in with their buying to give everything a value. Junk bonds, they went zero bid. So the Fed stepped in to provide liquidity, to give these things value. So with crypto, when we see all this volatility in the sector, that's when when the price is really taking off, it's because there's no one willing to sell. And when the price is really tanking, it's because no one's willing to buy. The orders get pulled from the market. Well, with THORChain, if the pools are big enough, it could absorb all of that selling pressure and all the buying pressure and really dampen the volatility in this sector. So what's cool with this is the bigger THORChain gets, the more it stabilizes the sector. And since RUNE is an ETF on crypto, the more it stabilizes the RUNE price. So I hope you follow me there, because that's a pretty big concept. It's pretty cool. But the pools would have to be pretty big, like 5-10% of the market. We can hope, we can dream, but the bigger those pools get, the more likely the scenario that it dampens volatility in the sector. Right now, THORChain is too tiny, so it can't do anything. It's going to be whipped around. Competition. Like anything, right? Competition is always a risk. Right now, THORChain basically has a monopoly on Bitcoin and DEXs. There is a fork called Maya Protocol. It's a friendly fork. It's like copy and paste of THORChain's design. They made their own tweaks and changes. I don't see it as a threat. All the power to them. I'm a capitalist. I'm all about competition and free markets. I don't see it as any kind of risk to THORChain. And if anything, it validates THORChain. It validates the design. So if there's other forks and copycats, all it does is they're just, imitation is best form of flattery, right? They're just saying THORChain's design works. So that's great from that point of view. Then also too, with forks and everything, what we've seen in crypto, they don't work out. Like all the forks of Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, Dogecoin, they have some value and whatnot, but none of them have ever overtaken Bitcoin, not even close, right? So with crypto, the first mover advantage is huge. It really helps you cement in your network effects and keep that ball going. With THORChain, I mentioned before with Trust Wallet, it took Trust Wallet 18 months to integrate THORChain. Are they going to spend 18 months to integrate Maya Protocol or any other fork? Will they even bother? Why do they need to put in Maya when they already have THORChain, right? There's really no need. So THORChain being first, having its network effects, I'm not too worried about forks. There could be just brand new, different designs. That could happen. That could definitely occur. That could exist. That could work. But it's, I don't think it would mean, THORChain going to zero for any reason. Just like there's multiple centralized exchanges, Coinbase, Binance, Kraken. There's dozens of these exchanges all over the world. It doesn't have to be just one, right? It doesn't have to be just one DEX, for Bitcoin. There can be multiple. There's lots of room in the marketplace for competition. It's just nice that right now THORChain basically has a monopoly on it. And the longer we keep that, the better. So hopefully by now, you're a THORChad. THORChad is what the community calls people bullish on RUNE and THORChain, fans of RUNE, fans of THORChain. And so you want to buy RUNE, the token. And there's three different ways you can hold the token. You can just buy and hodl RUNE. And when you do that, you maintain your 100% exposure. You have capital gains upside. But you're not earning any yield, and there's no benefit to the network if you do that. RUNE is best served in the network, being utilized inside THORChain. And there's two ways you can do that. You can pool RUNE or you can bond RUNE. So with pooling RUNE, you can put your RUNE in a liquidity pool. And when you do that, you're paired with another crypto, right? So if you're in the Bitcoin pool, you're gonna have half RUNE and half Bitcoin. You still have your capital gains potential on RUNE, but then you also have it on the other crypto. In the pool, you get your yield potential, right? So now you can start earning some yield instead of just having your RUNE sit there and do nothing. And the tertiary effect is you're increasing the liquidity in the network. So you're making the pools bigger and deeper. And in doing so, you're contributing to the success of your investment. because the bigger those pools get, the cheaper it is to swap. The more swaps occur, the more fees occur. You're contributing to that liquidity black hole. So if somebody has some RUNE and Bitcoin, they should put it in the liquidity pool, start earning some yield, and contribute to the success of RUNE. That being said, this is a more advanced way to invest because you have to be wary of impermanent loss, and it's beyond the scope of this video. So it's not, pooling isn't for the average user, average investor. You do have to have your wits about you there. And so let's say you don't want to deal with that, and you're like, no, I just want to stay 100% RUNE, but I do want to contribute to the network and earn some yield. That's where bonding comes from. Putting your RUNE in with the node, bonding your RUNE. And so in doing so, you stay with RUNE, 100% exposure. You still have your capital gains, upside potential. Now you can start earning some yield. And then the tertiary effect is you're contributing to the security of the network. Again, you're helping further and advance your investment. And by contributing to the security of the network, you make room for more crypto to go into these pools, make the pools get deeper, cheaper to swap, more swaps, increases the yield, and so on. So you're helping, so by bonding your RUNE, you're helping contribute to the liquidity black hole. But to do so, when you run a node, you need about 1 million RUNE and the technical expertise to get a node going. There are ways you can, with 6 different people, can come together and pool their RUNE together to come up with that bond. But somebody still has to know how to run one of the nodes. And there's a new feature being talked about called cold vaults, where people could bond their RUNE like much smaller amounts without actually physically running a node. That's just being talked about right now, so I don't want to get too far into it. But again, so trying to say before about THORChain continues to evolve and grow, and they're always looking at ways to improve it. So it's, everything I've gone over now, there obviously could be more features and whatnot, things could change. But for right now, the only way to bond your RUNE in the network is through a node. And this is what I'm doing with my fund, is raising money to buy RUNE to run nodes. And try to make it simple and easy for the average person. You don't have to know anything about crypto. You don't have to know anything about using wallets or anything like that. You just fill out paperwork, do a wire transfer, and instantly I can get you into running nodes. Start earning some yield on your RUNE. You got this is me, Kenton Ralph Toes. You got my contact info. Elena is my assistant. If anything about this video, you have any questions, maybe I didn't explain something very well, let me know. I'd like to maybe do a new video and try and address that, clarify anything, fix any mistakes. So feel free to reach out. And just a disclaimer here. I'm going to make my head even smaller. So you know what? Like, I'm bullish RUNE. I'm biased. I own the token. I funds and invest in the token. I want it to go up. No one's paid me to do this video. I'm doing it on my own free will. And so just so you know where my incentives are. And you know what? Like, I reserve the right to change my mind. New information comes along. That could maybe I sell. So take all this information for what it is. And then also too, I could be wrong, right? 100% I could be wrong. So just use this as part of your due diligence. Don't totally rely on it. If you have questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time.